Hello everyone, welcome on the webinar on testing of a Migrate system from Monolithic to Microservices, presented by Sonia Verchanani as a senior software consultant from Nolder's team. In this session, we will learn about what is Monolithic, what is Microservices, and their challenges that we have faced, and how Microservices APIs we can test, and so on. So we don't have any further delay. Let's take a look on the things that we will learn in this session. Before I start the session, we will look into about Nolder's. Nolder's is a team of passionate technologists with a product mindset who work along with business to deliver solution at the speed of competitive advantage. Our main capabilities are around reactive products, IoT, microservices, APIs, data science, data engineer, and DevOps. We have also our strategic partnership with Databricks, Lightbend, Confluent, and many more to deliver more value to client. Today we will discuss about what are monolithic and microservices. In our mind, one pictures are a picture always created of monolithic structure like this is sculpture. From this picture we can take an idea of monolithic means very large and unable to be changed, and microservices, from this picture we can see each build has own services means each service run its own process and communicate through APIs. We will discuss about challenges and solutions of the testing to migrate microservices, testing approaches, and in the last we will see the live example how we can test microservices APIs with the help of the automation tool. So let's start. Monolithic is means composed all things in one place. In application term, it is a single tiered, which means multiple components are combined into one large application. In this we can see everything is in one place. Every layers like user interface, business, and data, all layers are connected into one database. It is a single application supporting different features which may expose some APIs to get consumed by other third parties. It may also integrate with other applications via either web services or message broker. In this, tester do testing the entire application because everything is coupled together, and suppose in monolithic architecture developer wants to change something in one part, then the tester has to test entire things, and it will take consume the time and human efforts. So we will discuss more in details about monolithics. Before microservices, the main idea of microservices is to separate our application into smaller sets and interconnected services rather than building one monolithic application. Now you remember, in monolithic all things are combined together and in single architecture, but in microservices all things are separate. Each module supports a selected business goals and uses a simple and well defined interface so that communicate with other sets of services could be easy. Each microservices has its own database. Most of the successful startup like Netflix, Uber, Amazon all started with a monolithic concept, but once they became ready for scale, they switched to microservices. And Amazon is the most interesting microservices use case because of its scope. And in this there are many features like notifications, search search features, and pay feature. All of them manage the proceeding approach allows handling each features with its own workflow. And in microservices, easy to identify the impact of any changes and test that impacted areas. For an example, the microservice architecture of an application like PayNow could consist of individual services for user account management and integration with online merchants and user authentication. The microservices can be delivered through an APIs, and API is a method of communication between request and the host. Let's take a classic example of e-commerce. Everything is familiar with e-commerce process, so let's understand about monolithic and microservices architecture. Exactly what is monolithic and microservices with the help of this example. The concept of monolithic and microservices, in any e-commerce application there are some standard features like service review, rating and payments. These features are accessible to customers using their browser or apps. The code for different features like search, review and payments are on the same server. To scale the application, we need to run multiple servers of this application. If we need to change something in the code, then the whole application will be repeated in the monolithic. But in microservices, all are separate into individual modules which communicate with each other. Here we can see each pair of request and response is independent, and each microservices has its separate data store. Now I hope you are cleared about monolithic and microservices concept. Now we will see the challenges of the testing to migrate the microservices. There are many challenges that we have faced, while most and biggest challenge is third party integration. We have dependencies on third party like Salesforce for generate the data and Google IDP for authentication. This is the main challenge we have faced in monolithic. And high variation time in manual execution. We execute very less test cases because it consumes execution time as well as cost. If we bring in continuous delivery into the application, then it fails on this services, since for small changes in the application build time increase and decrease the frequency of deployment. High release time. Without automation, manually we write 1300 test cases for 30 to 40 services, which takes human time and human efforts. So this is the challenges that we have faced, and the very most and biggest challenge is lack of documentations. Without documentations, it's not possible to move further. So documentation is the essential part to test the API testing. And large code. Biggest challenge to understand the entire code and test them, because in monolithic all things are coupled together. Before understanding the code, then test them. It is the biggest challenge for tester also. If something change in between, so tester will be performed testing again. Solutions of testing the migrate the microservices. Microservice APIs is the solutions, and they are often connected via APIs and can leverage many of the same tools and solutions. We have some solutions that we will see. High migration time. We have shifted manual to automation testing. CI/CD is the best solution to save the time. In the market, there are many tools like Jenkins, GitHub, Bitbucket, and these all are the tools for CI/CD, and it is the easily approach of CI/CD like code, build, test, deploy, and wizard. And in microservices, all components are separate to each other, so we can easily reduce the migration times with the help of the CI/CD. And for third party integration, with the help of automation, we have generate our own access token and data, and we can reduce the third party integration, and the dependency from other services were minimized to an extent. And high release time. With the help of the automation testing, we automate API test cases, so it reduces the human efforts as well as release time. And lack of documentations, this will always be a challenge. With proper communication, we can rectify and overcome this challenge of the lack of documentation. Why migrate monolithic to microservices? Easy deployment and maintenance. Means with the help of the automation approach and CI/CD process, we can easily deploy the test cases, as well as for the monitor the logs. We can maintenance Newman HTML reports. Reduced downtime through fault isolation. In monolithic application, a memory leakage in one component or even a third party libraries can affect the entire applications. But in microservices is the isolation of components or the features, and easy of implementations and easier scalability. If a developer wants to change something in one part, they can change, so there is no dependency to other services, so they can easily implement the code and test it. They can easily test that implementations also. And for scalability, with the performance testing, we can test easily of microservices. There are many tools for performance testing like Gatling, JMeter, and so on. And for fast delivery, we can go with the CI/CD pipeline, and with the help of this, we don't need to wait for other modules, and we can schedule the our jobs in daily basis. And with the help of the schedule the jobs, we can perform the fast delivery. And in microservices, all large parts down into small parts, and tester can test easily and find the defects earlier. Testing approaches to migrate microservices. There are a lot of testing approaches. Like for API testing, we have Postman, which is the API testing tool. For third party integrations, we have Salesforce. It is help to generate the data And for performance testing tool in the market, there are many tools like JMeter, Gatling and K6. You can perform any one of them for testing. And for build management tool, we have Maven, and for continuous testing we have Jenkins. We will see in details about these testing approaches. API testing is the type of testing and it is recognized as being more suitable for test automation and continuous testing than GUI testing. And in API testing, we can write our own test cases with the help of the language, which is JavaScript, and we can create our own collections and environment files for execution and generate the reports for the same. And for a CI/CD approach and fast delivery, we can go with Jenkins, which is the CI/CD tool. And in the CI/CD we can reduce the time and give fast delivery, and we don't put human efforts for regression and smoke testing. And we can use scheduler and run the daily jobs automatically. With of other tools like Gatling, Maven and Salesforce. Gatling is a load and performance testing tool. Maven is the project and build management tool, which is used to check the completion issue between framework components. Whenever multiple test engineer integrates their file into the same framework. And for CRM tool, we have Salesforce, that is support for sales and marketing teams worldwide. And the Salesforce services allow business to use cloud technologies to better connect with partners, customer and potentially customers. So we can test easily microservices APIs with the help of these tools. How API testing is beneficial for microservices? Making your application more productive, and no dependency on third party tools, like we don't have any dependencies like Salesforce tools, and we can generate our own own data and token with the help of the automation tool. And in the earlier stage, tester find the defects in APIs. They do not wait for UI testing and front-end testing. They can find each and everything which with the help of the API testing. And fast execution and save the time, we have the multiple tools for CI/CD pipeline, and we can adapt the approach of a CI/CD pipeline. We can reduce our time. Testing strategies. There are many testing strategies like functional testing, components testing, performance testing, API testing and end-to-end testing. Functional testing is more complicated than testing in a traditional monolithic architecture, because microservices do not have a UI for easy testing. The interface is to be tested represent some type of remote client communication over HTTP. Component testing in this test microservices in isolation, because they often call many other microservices in order to reply to our test client's request. For performance testing means testing of microservices to test how well the application perform when a high number of calls and that made to microservices or large amount of data which is transferred between individual services on the network. And for the API testing, APIs are part of an application that communicate with other applications. So API can be used to enable microservices. And for end-to-end testing, that is required to verify the input which is received correctly from the front end entry and all the ways down to the back end. End-to-end automation testing strategies of microservices. We will see how we can test end-to-end testing and how we can follow the approaches to test the microservices APIs. To test the microservices APIs, Postman is the best tool, and in Postman we create a collections and put all the API requests, then test the request. Depend on the HTTP methods, means which type of request we have to test, like get, put, post and delete, and add the sessions to use the JavaScript. After that connect with Git and build the pipeline with the help of the jobs, and after that we will run the jobs with the help of the Newman command line, and then we will observe the results. And this is the concept of how we can test the microservices APIs. We will take an live example of microservices APIs. We have to test the microservices APIs. So in the market there are many tools like Postman, Lighthouse, Swagger, and we will see the example with Postman. And in our system we need to install the Postman for test the APIs, Node.js to generate the Newman report, and Jenkins for CI/CD pipeline configuration. And in my system all things are already installed, so no need to install again. And here I have created a one collection and put here all the request different type of HTTP methods like get, put, post, put and delete. And you can see here all requests are independent, so we can test these requests one by one, and we don't need to test entire things in one go. And depend on the request we can put the assertions, like for demo purpose I have put the assertions. You can put multiple assertions depend on your response and body. I will hit this request. You can see all test cases has been passed. Okay, and same as it is, you can test with the post, put and delete request. And in microservices all requests are independent, and suppose something is changed in the get request, means developers change the URL and they want to test again. So in this case tester do not perform all things again, all testing with post, put and delete. They have to test only with this request. So here is the big solution. All things are independent, all the requests are independent, they do not depend to each other. And if something is changes in between or in some particular request, so tester do not verify and test all things again and again. And for third party integrations, we can generate our own access token. And I have created one environment file, and all details I have put in the environment file like this. And yeah, for generate access token, we need to pass only these things like client id, client secret, username, password and grant type. And then we will hit the request, and you can observe access token has been generated. So it will expire when, and how we can use this access token, and what is token type, like it is a bearer token type. So we can generate our own access token. We don't need to dependency on third parties. So here is the biggest challenges we have faced in Monolithic. It is the solution in microservices APIs. And yeah, for time saving, we can execute all the collections in one go like this. Yeah, all test cases has been passed. You can put multiple test cases and multiple accession depend on your request. And Postman supports data driven framework, and we do not put the human and efforts and manual efforts if we want to test multiple data. So we have to add the files with the multiple data, and then Postman will run automatically and take one by one all the data automatically. And yeah, and for Newman report, we have to export this in our system, which is already export in my system, so no need to export again. And for report generation, you have to download HTML extra report Newman Node.js into your system. All things already I have installed, and I have installed I have run the this command. And see, you can see, we can observe the reports and observe in console also. And for the demo purpose, I have also generate the HTML report. Yeah, for CI/CD pipeline, we can go with Jenkins, and here we have to install the Node.js, which is already installed in my system. And you have to go manage Jenkins. After that, you have to go manage plugins and search here Node.js, which is already installed. So I will search here for see, it is already installed. For you, if you are trying first time, you have to install in available section, and after that you again go with manage Jenkins, and go to global tool configurations. Under the Node.js tab, you have to click on Node.js installations, and you can give any name like API testing or something, whatever you want. And then you have to give the command line if you are using Ubuntu or Linux. So you have to give the command line to install the package for report generation. in Jenkins, and after that click on apply and save. uh, I am going to dashboard. I have already created one job for demo purpose. After that we will go to configure, and now I will explain how I have added each and everything. And there are multiple configurations, so you need to go to build, and after that you have to click on provide node and npm bin folder to path. You have to select this tab, this checkbox, and after that you have to select this node.js installation name, which we have already put there when we configure in manage the Jenkins. After that we have to give the commands here, Newman1, and here you can give the file name whatever you have downloaded here. Like in my system I have export the file from this name postman collection.js, so you have to put the same name here and then apply and save, and you will run the build, and then you will observe this has been fixed. You can see the console. Yeah, why it has been failed. Response time is less than 200 milliseconds but expected 233. So with the help of this you can rectify the postman collections, and then again you can configure it with Jenkins, and again they run the build with success response. And for local you can also generate the Newman report, which already I have generated, and you can observe here one session also failed here. From here you can also verify why this one test has been failed. So you can expand this request from here, and you can see expected 237 milliseconds to be below than 200 milliseconds. So with the help of this report you can test again the postman request, and verify the request and modify that request. Again you can follow same approach and generate the Newman report. So this is the concept of microservices API testing, and for this we can schedule our job. Go to this project and go to configure, and build under the build trigger you can schedule the job. So whenever you want to run this job, if you want to this job run daily, so it will run daily automatically. We don't need to do something in this. And this is the solutions how we can test the microservices APIs. Here is the references for Greeks, and from there you can easily understand the concept of monolithic of and microservices. And for Go99 you can see all things how we can test RESTful APIs with the help of the automation tool and so on. That's all about this sessions. Very thankful to attend these sessions. You can find all the related blogs.nolders.com, and for the same you can find the TechUp templates like techup.nolders.com. And apart from this, we have our YouTube channel, so you can go through them with youtube.com, see Nolders and features. And from blogs and from blogs, TechUp and YouTube channel, you can learn many things. Thanks for this sessions. Thank you so much.